Okay, we are going to be working with a concept today that I feel like this class is going to catch on really quickly. Um, it will be important that you remember the vocabulary. And also, if you look at our learning target, we're going to learn to identify triangles by both sides and angles. They're two completely different ways to classify, and triangles can be identified in either way usually. So if I ask you on the test to classify it by a side and you classify it by an angle, it is incorrect. So we're going to start first with classifying by angles. So we use some of the same terminology that we use when we are talking about angles. And this one, I made sure it almost looks like this angle is 90 degrees, but if you look at it across the bottom, it is not. It is less than 90 degrees on all three angles. And that's what an acute triangle is. Every single angle is less than 90 degrees. Okay. A right triangle has one 90-degree angle. It is not possible to have two 90-degree angles in a triangle. You have one, and that makes it a right triangle. When you get into upper levels of geometry, there's something very special about right triangles where you, if you know it's right, you can find that hypotenuse, but we shall not go there today. Obtuse triangles, are ones that have at least or have only one obtuse angle. You can see that in this triangle right here. Feel free to draw them. I decided to cut them out so you could see what they look like. And so if we look at these triangles, they've given us the measures here. I want you to go ahead and write. It doesn't really matter if you measure them exactly, just put the 110, 35, and 35 degrees here, 80, 60, 40 here, and then this one put the 90-degree angle here with the 60, 30 here. You can pause it and write off to the side which kind of triangle it is. Okay, so this one is obviously with the 110-degree angle, that's greater than 90, so this one, if I were to classify by angle, is obtuse. In this one, none of the angles measure 90, so this one is acute. And obviously, easy peasy, this one, it has a right angle, so it is, in fact, a right triangle. All right, we are going to classify by sides. So this one I am going to attempt to draw, and when I do, please give me some grace, and I'm going to show you the congruency symbols. So if I want to show you that these two sides are equal, I draw a little line there. That means this is equal to this. And I'm going to draw one little tick here that's equal to that. Okay? So this tells me that all three of the measures of these sides are equal, which makes it an equilateral triangle. You might say, well, Mrs. McKinley, this one also is acute. Yes, if I were to measure the angles of this, it would probably also be acute. But if you have side markings, it wants you to classify it by side. And these are the ways that you can do it by side. Okay? If it says, even if it is appearing to be an equilateral and all sides, all of these are 60 degrees and they only give you the 60 degrees, it wants you to say it's acute. But if the sides are marked up, and I'm going to show you that with the isosceles triangle, and this one I'm going to try to make a little bit more, and it doesn't matter whether it's like this or like this. If these, I'm going to use red, if these two are the same, there are two sides that are the same, you might say, well, Miss McKinley, this is also acute. If they're asking you to do it by side, or if this looks like it could be a 90-degree angle, but it's not marked there, if it asks you to classify by sides, you need to put isosceles. It will be wrong, even if you can prove with your protractor something about the angles. Okay, a scalene triangle. I have a hard time drawing these because sometimes I end up drawing isosceles by accident. So this one, even though you can say, well, Mrs. McKinley, that looks obtuse. Well, I know I did pre-measure. None of the sides are equal, and you would see no hash marks there. The obtuse one up here is also none of the sides are equal. I measured those as well, and you can kind of see that in there. So I could even decide I'm going to classify this by sides and say, oh, this is scalene, no sides are equal. Okay, so if the question asks you to classify by sides, do one of these three choices. By angles, you need to do one of these three choices. Never ever classify something that when it says angles, never use any of these three choices. It was the most common mistake on a test last year. The other thing, and this is going to be a really quick one, if you remember complementary and supplementary, once you know some stuff about the measures of angles and how things work, if you look up here, all of these, 35 plus 35 is 70, plus 110 is 180. Okay? 60 plus 40 is 100, plus 80 is 180. 90, well, 60 plus 30 is 90, plus another 90 is 180. Are you getting the sum of the measures of the angles of all triangles always equal 180? It is well known within geometry. It's one of the fundamentals of geometry. Triangles, their measures of the angles are 180. There's something magical about that number too, because we know it is a very stable structure, a triangle, these 180 degrees. So I'm going to pause this in a moment. You have a triangle that I've drawn, and I did not draw it with a protractor, but I'm telling you the angle is 46 and 21, and I want you to find the missing angle. You know that all the sum of all the angles are 180. So pause the video. Please find X. All right, just a quick show of my steps. I did 46 plus 21 to get these two angles to add up. I got a 67. And then I took my 180, which I know all triangles are, and I subtracted 67, and I got 113 degrees for my total. I believe that this class is very, very strong in your algebra, so finding that missing number just means that these steps need to be mathematically accurate, so please be very careful when you're adding and subtracting and regrouping. All right? Enjoy your assignment. Again, I love these because they're kind of like puzzles. Find the missing. And sometimes they'll draw a little line off here and they'll give you this angle, but they won't give you this angle. And I don't know, I just find it kind of interesting and fun to puzzle through them. Enjoy and ask me any questions if you need to.